Hello everyone and welcome back to Expletives Included for our Vlogmas specials. I did have an idea. I would just kind of following on from Kier's history of education. I thought I would talk about kind of like two of my big friendships. Friendship is a big thing here on Expletives Included, as I'm sure you've noticed. But I decided against that. I'm instead going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, Satan's game. I've recently kind of been introduced to a new D&D campaign. It's the Rage of Demons. I think it was Rage of Demons. It's a new 5th edition. It's got a book. It's got Demogorgon on the front, the kind of weird two-headed baboon, tentacled god of destruction, set in the Underdark and all that crazy nonsense. And it's really kind of like my first. I've only had 2 games, but they've both been like several hours long each. And it's my first kind of proper introduction to 5th edition. I remember I did some of the, like when they were playtesting, they were like doing all of these new things, like saying, here, have this, write feedback, send it in, tell us what you think, and did a few of those. I've made like characters. We were planning to do like a game for the site. I think we're still planning to do that after Vlogmas, after December. Again, to like fill in the Steven Universe slot. But Rage of Demons, I'm going to throw like all of my friends who I'm playing with under the bus now, but they'll remain nameless. And hopefully they won't see this, so it'll be fine. I've kind of seen recently like D&D kind of videos popping up. Maybe it's just because I've been talking about it, people have been sending them to me, but I don't know, it seems to be kind of coming back as a thing. I'm not a big fan of 5th, and I'm not sure if that's, well, it's partly because of the game system, but I'm not sure if it's like because of the people I'm playing with. I would like to actually feel really guilty. I can't remember why it came up, but this like, basically I was like, yes, I'll run the game, I could. And I was like really kind of disinterested in it. I was like, oh, I could do this. I could run the game. Let me do it. Let me just do it for like. And I kind of feel kind of guilty because it's like basically just me saying, like, oh yes, you're all doing terrible. Let me fix this because I am just so much better. And it's just that's not the kind of thing that you want to kind of come out with. And I didn't actually say that. It probably would have been better if I did say that, because people would have just assumed that I was joking. And of course I'm reading too much into it. I'm essentially I said something innocuous and I'm basically telling myself that I've just pissed on everyone's faces. Pissed on everyone's backs and told them it's raining. That's probably where the saying goes. I don't think it is. But it just feels... So my problem with the group is, I think like a big thing is that I'm just like, my kind of introduction, like the way I kind of developed as a role player, it's very, very different to how this game is being run. So, kind of like, if I was ever kind of like say, oh, shit, we need to... So like when I was like very early on in my gaming career, I would be like, oh shit, we need to talk to this guy, so I'll roll diplomacy, how well do I do? And I remember Kier, because Kier was like the earliest email I had, was like, well, what do you say? It's like, I don't know, can I not just roll the dice? Oh, Lord. It's like, you have to tell me what you say, and it was like, that's kind of like, I'm still not very good at that. I can't remember if I've talked about this, but I'm still not very good at that. But it's something which I always kind of try to do. I am much better. I will kind of like sometimes not like be like properly in the role, as in like playing the part and being all theatrical. I'll say, okay, so my character says this, this, and this. My character tries to get this across. I've kind of definitely moved past just like saying, it's like, oh, I want to use diplomacy. That's something which I've kind of, that's in the past, that's gone. Now I'm kind of like in this game and people are like saying, it's like, oh, I think that morale is low, I'll use my performance skill to raise the mood. And it's like, okay, so what are you doing? Are you telling stories? Are you using music? Are you singing? What are you doing? And rather than, I can't say these things, or I feel like I can, because I feel like I'm already like that guy in the group who's just, well, actually in the rule it says this. It's like, can you not try and do this? I'm basically a killjoy, and it makes me, I'll get onto that. And like the DM is just like saying, yeah, roll performance. And it's like, rather than like busting his balls, like saying, what are you doing? Tell me what you're doing. I'll say it either works, I'll say that you need to roll for it, or I'll say it doesn't work. So it's like, will these people's spirits be lifted by music? It's like, yes, even if it's shit, then their spirits will be lifted. So yes, you raise the morale. Or it's like, well, I don't know, these people aren't really feeling it, so make a roll, see how well you did. It's like, or just like, no, that's completely inappropriate. Doesn't matter how well you play. This is a funeral. Funky jazz is not going to make things better. Because you can't just say, it's like, oh yeah, I'll just use performance. So that's like something which niggles at me. Other things like, so that's like one character, and then there's this other character who just, so like Rage of Demons, it's in the Underdark, which is basically the cavernous underground setting. It's like really hard to get to the surface. Pretty much everyone down there is evil and would try, kill you as much as sneezes you. And this guy's just like, okay, so I jump up and I spin kick the demon in the face. Or, okay, so I'll get up behind the Drow Priestess and stab her in the back. I'll jump onto this, so there's one of the character who is an elvish lord who has been polymorphed into this kind of big brutish creature. And he's like, I'll jump on his back and be like, hi-ho, Silver, away! And then kind of point onwards and go down, and it's like, what is going on here? And then the DM is just like, yes, you do it! Or it's like, roll acrobatics, yes, you do it! It's like, okay, let's just say that this is, and everyone's kind of insane, so we're not sure if it is actually an elvish lord or whether it's just like this beast who has been infected by the madness and believes, because there's like things like saying, he'll say that he's from this land, but none of you have ever really heard of this land, or it's like, but he speaks fluent elvish, which just these creatures don't. So it's like every kind of so often it's like saying, oh well, he's obviously an elvish lord. Actually no, this isn't right. And so let's just say that he's an elvish lord. Some Svith Neblin has just jumped on his back and been like, ha-ha! And it's like, elves, haughty elves, proud, a lord, an elvish lord. So elves are haughty, elvish, not royalty, upper class, nobility. This is elvish nobility. Do you know how haughty you have to be lordly over the haughty elves? And this prick has just jumped on your back and been like, you're my mount now, ride away! And it's just, what's going on? And let's just assume that it is this kind of beast, and it's just like, okay, so you've basically just jumped on an owl bear, which is like a bear with the ferocity of an owl. You don't know how terrifying that is, then just, there's no point you even watching this. And it's just like, he's totally okay with it. It's just, that makes no sense. And it's like, how can you get immersed in a world where things just constantly make you disbelieve the reality of the world? There's suspension of disbelief. I believe that there are Svith Neblin, like deep gnomes. I believe that there are elves. I believe that there's an elf who is possibly polymorphed into a beast who still remembers that he was an elf and is slowly going insane. I believe all of this. But the fact that the deep gnome jumps on the back of the elf and then starts riding it around like a horse, I don't believe, because that's just not how people act. And it's just like things like that, it's like, we're all adults trying to engage in this fantasy realm where people are slowly going insane, and you're acting like you're 6 at a playground, and it's just, I don't understand, like, where these things are coming from. And I would just be like, yes, if I could run this game, then I would not allow that shit, and you would be scared. Maybe not scared, but... Because again, we're sitting in a kitchen rolling dice. So it's very hard to kind of like make that stuff scary. So if I'm like in a game where like the DM won't tell people off for being moronic, I'm in a game where the DM isn't kind of encouraging people to roleplay. And he's not really doing like a great job of roleplay as well. There's like 10, 12 NPCs, and it's just, okay, so you walk around. So like I've tried to like do things where I've like tried to engage him as, and like force him to be like one of the characters. So I'll be like, okay, so I take this one person aside like when we're both at watch, and I try and talk to him about like this, this, and this. And it's like trying to encourage roleplaying. And it's just trying to do that, but just kind of, sometimes you can't just kind of, I tried to interject that, but if you're just going to like say, oh yeah, you're travelling for 20 days down this passageway, and you're not going to say once that, oh yeah, these people are going to kind of postulate something to the group. These people are going to like one of these people are going to say like, well, you three, like the PCs, have taken on this role as if you're kind of in charge. Why is that? Why do you think you're kind of better than us? We're all in the same position, and it's like, of course you're going to take control because you're the PCs. But that doesn't mean that the NPCs have to be happy about that. Like, do little things like that, and just politics, I guess, like conflict, and just having people talk. It's like, if you're just going to say that, oh yeah, you've been travelling like without instance for 10 days, then it's like, essentially you're saying like, oh yes, for 10 days, you've got like 12 people walking in like this cripplingly lonely place, and not one of you has said anything. So that's kind of, yeah, throwing all of my friends under the bus. And just kind of not kind of going into things. It's very much just like a encounter, roll dice, and we kind of got our hands on a magical object which was way above our power level, which basically just means, okay, encounter, roll dice, boom, tentacle rod, dead. It's like, okay, great combat, guys. And it's just... So I'm kind of like not getting anything out of the combat because I haven't kind of... I've done a bit of min-maxing, but that's just kind of like how you kind of create characters. When you're doing the point-buy system, you kind of... Yeah. But I haven't kind of like over-the-top min-maxed, so... I've chosen like a race that probably isn't like best suited to the class that I've picked, but it makes sense for the character, and... I've never been one to be like, oh yes, well, it's a shit character, but it makes sense with the story. I've never been that kind of guy. So even though I am kind of like saying it's not like perfect, not perfect min-max, not perfect character-wise, I tried to like get an in-between. But so just like these other guys are just kind of gore machines, and I'm just there just like, do, we should talk about things. Maybe later? That's cool. Do. So it's not great, and just quite early on there's just this... spoilers, minor spoilers, quite early on there's this part where Demogorgon rises from the depths, and that should be a big moment. This is a god. This is a titan of destruction. And it's just, oh yeah, so he comes up and he started smashing the buildings. Like, you gotta get away. And it's just... You could have done that so much better. Just like I'm not sure, like... So, he kind of rises up somewhat close to you, so just like... and you're like in the middle of combat, it's just like, okay, you hear thunder. Like, everyone like roll dexterity to like stay on your feet. It's like, okay, you've fallen over. You've dropped your... But you're fine. And there's another tremor. Everyone roll dex. Like, okay, you've lost your weapon. It's like, there's like this Kuotoa, I think they're Kuotoas, like, he's leering over you, he's gonna kill you, and then boom, there's another tremor, and he just kind of, he just falls over, he kind of falls on top of you, but you kind of have to push him off. He's dropped his weapon as well, just kind of create chaos, like, before everything happens, and then just like, okay, now there's like a bigger tremor, and now cracks are appearing in the roads, in the surfaces. You're gonna have to like the pavement underneath you is cracking. It's just going to get worse. You need to kind of get away. You need to start running. And it's like, if you don't, then you know, chances are you're just going to get engulfed in the chasm. So you're running, and then just like, you kind of get away, and then like, boom, again, you'll all knock to your feet, or you're stopped running, and then it's just, you see a shape. You don't know what it is. It's like six tentacles just kind of roiling out from the depths, just like coming down and smashing everything. You don't know what it is. You're like, do you want to see what it is, or do you want to kind of keep running? And then just kind of pass you the choice. Like, what do you want to do? You want to see what this is? And then it's like, okay, now like you see a head, something kind of creeping up, just two heads. You hear this earth-shattering scream. You're not sure what it is. You just know that it's evil. Just kind of go into it. Don't just say, oh yeah, Demogorgon rises up from the sewers and just starts destroying things. Just kind of build. Again, I just want to read the book. I'm just wondering, like, what does it just say? Like, Demogorgon rises, or does it give like spiel? Because like sometimes like these books do kind of give spiel for you to kind of run off, and it's just, you need to be more imaginative. So that's kind of enough kind of complaining. Now I want to complain about like things that I've noticed in game. Just like odd things. There's one which is like in the forefront of my mind, so I'll just kind of talk about that one recently. One of my characters is a rogue, and he backstabs. It's simple enough. That's what rogues do. They backstab. They don't like have great mastery of lots of weapons, but they have a knife, and they know exactly where to stick it and twist it. Like they know like your anatomy. They know that, you know, kidneys are here. It's like, okay, so a fighter, he's just got a sword. He will hit you with the sword. It's like, blood, But a thief will be like, I've got a dagger, and this guy's distracted fighting the fighter. They're going to kind of keep hitting each other with swords. They're going to hit their armor, they're going to hit their shields. I know that if I kind of stab just up here, then I'm going to hit a kidney. I'm going to hit a vital organ. That's going to deal massive damage. It's like a tiny dagger, but you cut a vein, artery? I can't remember. You get like one of the high pressure blood, I think it's veins. You get a high pressure blood vessel tube, then they're going to start bleeding out because vital area. That's what backstab is. That's what backstab used to be. You needed to be flanking. There needed to be like, the guy needed to be fighting on two sides. So it's like there's someone I'm fighting, someone here and someone here. I can't keep my focus on both people. That confers an advantage. If I've got two people in front of me, then I'm at a disadvantage, but I can still kind of fend both of them off, and I know what I'm doing. That's all you need now for backstab. You don't need to be behind someone. You can just kind of be fighting. They just need to be like 5 foot. They just need to be like adjacent to an enemy. So, again, all the rogue needs, rather, is for an ally to be adjacent to an enemy that you're targeting, and you can get your backstab damage. I think wolves get that, but they've kind of like got that pack tactics. Whereas you're kind of like a rogue, and it feels weird that you can kind of, they don't need to be kind of fighting on two fronts for them to be distracted enough for you to kind of actually have the time to pinpoint your blow. Just need to be adjacent, and then boom, you got your backstab. There's no maneuverability, there's no kind of tactics, you just gang up 2-on-1, don't even need to worry about position, strategy, just 2-on-1, boom, backstab, dealing 2 extra d6 of damage. And again, they've also changed like that fundamental part of backstab. You're not striking a vital organ. You're not striking anything vital. Do I actually have the book here? Monster Manual, Bestiary Pathfinder. No, it must be somewhere else. But I want to kind of read it out to you, but some other time. You just need like this advantage to get your sneak attack, to get your backstab. You don't need to strike a vital organ. Where is the logic in this? You can just stab someone with a dagger. You don't even need to do it well. You don't need to be precise. You don't need to hit anything that's going to cause this massive damage. You're just a weak-ass rogue. You can stab someone for d4 points of damage with a dagger, and boom, like an extra 2d6, 3d6. You can be weak. You can be weak as shit, and you can just like scratch someone with a dagger, and then boom, an extra 2d6 just because there's someone else next to you. And I know that it's not that you're hitting a vital area. I know that it's not that you're kind of hitting the kidneys. You're not hitting the liver. You're not hitting the lungs. You're not doing anything that's kind of. You're not being like sneaky. You're not being intelligent because you don't. Because like in Pathfinder, if you're fighting someone who, if you're a rogue and you're fighting something which doesn't have these vital areas, you don't get backstabbed because there's nothing that you can stab for extra damage. There's no kind of vital organ. There's no vital area. I think there are even like enemies that do have them, but because they have like this weird anatomy, this alien anatomy, you can kind of miss on your backstab unless you like have some kind of tutelage, because you stab like where an organ should be and it's not going to be there. And then there are things like ghosts. There are things like gelatinous cubes that don't have any organs, so it doesn't matter where you stab. You're not striking a vital area, so you're basically just a fighter with a dagger, and that's not going to deal much damage. But in 5th, there's nothing stopping you dealing this extra damage to things without a discernible anatomy. Explain that to me. Explain it to me. How does this work? And it's things like that. I've been rambling for a while, so I'm not going to try and remember anything else. But it's things like that that just kind of feel wrong. I think there was like something else about ghosts. But essentially, yeah, it just... Oh yeah, like ghosts can be struck with physical weapons, like non-magic weapons. Like an intangible ghost, like vapor, essentially. You can strike it with a physical weapon, and it hits. There's no mischance. If you beat the AC, which isn't high because they're not wearing any armour, they're just a ghost, you hit it with a sword, you have the damage, but every time it hits. A ghost. This is a thing without form or substance. It's like these little things just mount up, and it's just, they don't make sense within this fantasy world. They don't make sense to me. And it's just like the little things like that. It's like the game system you can probably complain about. You can complain about advantage and disadvantage and like how they interact with each other. You can complain about spells. You can complain about how the characters are created. You can complain about feats. Those are all kind of like technical issues that, you know, it's a different game. It's going to be different. There are things that are different, but things like the two things I've just been complaining about, these are kind of world things. These are things that are... They affect the overall feel of the game, because that's like the most important thing. You can play like Pathfinder, or you can play 2nd edition D&D, or you can play Shadowrun. They're all vastly different game systems, but if you're kind of playing them, then they're all similar because you all get like this feel of a world that's coherent. But with 5th, there are these things that just kind of take you out of it because they just don't... For anyone who's like been immersed in these worlds for a while, it's just, they don't make sense. You can't stab a ghost. You can't strike the organ of a gelatinous cube. And it's just, these things just don't make sense, and it's really detracts from the overall feel of the game, which in this one I feel is a bit lacking anyway, so... I have no endpoint for this. But I'm going to stop before I go into ramble mode, which possibly I already have. Thank you for listening to me vent. I feel much better now, and I'll see you again in 2 days.